Hello everyone, Maya Chen had always believed life was a series of boxes to check. Good grades checked. Prestigious university checked. Job at a top consulting firm checked. Corner apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows checked. Then, on a Tuesday in October, sitting in a glass-walled conference room on the 31st floor, her boss told her in the gentle language reserved for firings that her position was being restructured. She nodded at the appropriate moments. She did not cry until she was alone in the elevator. It wasn't just the job. It was simply the crack that let the light in. Her engagement had ended 4 months earlier. Her father's health was declining an ocean away in Taiwan. She had not taken a vacation in 3 years, and she could not remember the last time she'd felt joy that wasn't immediately followed by the anxious calculation of what she owed for it. That night, sitting on the floor of her apartment surrounded by still unpacked boxes, Maya understood with sudden clarity that she did not know who she was without the scaffolding of achievement holding her upright. She opened her laptop, searching for something she couldn't name, and found it. The Camino de Santiago, a 500-mile pilgrimage route across northern Spain that people had walked for over 1,000 years, many of them searching for exactly the kind of answer she didn't know how to ask for. At 2 in the morning, she booked a one-way flight to the French Pyrenees, where the traditional route began. She did not tell herself it was a good decision. She simply closed the laptop and slept more soundly than she had in over a year. Her mother, who had immigrated at 23 with 2 suitcases and little English, surprised her by saying only, "Good. You've been tired a long time, May. Go." Her best friend Priya was harder to convince. "You're quitting your life to go for a walk," she said over coffee. "It's 500 miles. That doesn't make it less of a walk. I feel like I've been running on a treadmill for 10 years and just noticed the belt was never moving me anywhere aufwärts," Maya said. "I need to find out if there's a person underneath all this or if I built the whole thing out of other people's expectations." Priya took her hand. "Go, but you call me. Every week." Maya packed light, 2 changes of clothes, a rain shell, blister care, and tucked her grandmother's jade pendant into her pack, where it would sit against her back for the next 5 weeks like a small, cool anchor. She flew to Paris, took a train south, and arrived in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port at sunset, a medieval town already filled with pilgrims. A German widower, 2 Australian sisters, a Brazilian schoolteacher who'd saved 3 years for this trip. Strangers, all carrying invisible weights, all walking the same road for reasons that were, at their core, remarkably similar. That night she wrote in her notebook, Day 0, "I don't know what I'm looking for. I hope the road knows even if I don't." The first day was, by every account, the hardest. A brutal climb over the Pyrenees, 15 miles of thin air and shaking thighs. She had trained for this, she told herself, conveniently forgetting her training had consisted of 3 treadmill sessions and 1 disastrous weekend hike. The morning began in fog so thick she could barely see the way markers. By mid-morning her shoulders ached and a blister was forming. And yet somewhere around the 2nd hour, the fog burned away to reveal green pasture and grazing sheep, and Maya stopped walking entirely, tears coming without warning. Not from pain, but from something that felt like her chest cracking open after years of being sealed shut. She met Elena that afternoon, a Spanish woman in her 50s, walking her 3rd Camino. "Does it actually fix anything?" Maya asked her. "It does not fix. It reveals," Elena said. "The Camino strips away the noise until you can finally hear what the problem actually is. What you do with that clarity, that part is still up to you." The days blurred into rhythm. Wake before sunrise, walk through cool morning hours, coffee and tortilla española in some stone village, push through midday heat past vineyards and ancient churches, arrive by afternoon, tend to blisters, share dinner with whichever pilgrims filled the same old burg that night. She met people she'd never have crossed paths with in her old life. A German widower walking a Camino he'd promised to complete with his late wife, a teenager walking with his failing grandfather, teaching Maya something about time she hadn't understood. That it wasn't a resource to optimize, but a gift to spend deliberately. And there was Amara, a young Nigerian woman who'd left a career in London finance. I kept waiting to arrive somewhere and feel done, Amara said. Promotion, done. Flat in Chelsea, done. I never felt done. So I stopped running toward things and started walking toward nothing in particular, just to see what that felt like. Maya recognized herself so completely in the words that she had to look away. It was Amara who eventually asked the question that wouldn't leave her alone. What were you actually running from back home? Not the job. What's underneath the job? I think I was afraid that if I stopped achieving things, there might not be anyone left, Maya finally admitted. I built my whole identity out of accomplishments because I was afraid that underneath them was nothing worth loving without the resume attached. By the time Maya reached the Meseta, the vast, flat, sun-scorched plateau at Spain's center, she'd walked nearly 250 miles and believed, with the arrogance of someone who'd survived several hard weeks, that she understood what this journey would teach her. The Meseta disabused her of that notion entirely, stripped of scenery, walking alone one day while her mind turned inward with nowhere left to hide. Every unresolved grief came rushing forward at once. Her father growing smaller in video calls. She was always too tired to extend the relationship she'd let wither through neglect, the suspicion that she'd spent her best years building a life that belonged to someone else. She began to cry around mile 12 of an 18-mile day and seriously considered quitting, calling a taxi, flying home. Instead, she sat on a stone marker at the edge of a wheat field and asked herself, for the first time honestly, what she was actually afraid of. I'm afraid that if I stop moving, even here, I'll have to sit with the fact that I don't know who I am without a title and a task list, she admitted to herself. I'm afraid the walking is just another form of achieving, another finish line, and I'll get to the end feeling as empty as I did in that elevator because I never let myself actually feel anything. The honesty frightened her more than the exhaustion had. She did not call a taxi. Instead, she took off her boots and walked the last 6 miles barefoot through the dust, present in her body in a way she hadn't been in years. Not achieving anything, not proving anything, just a woman walking across a field with nothing left to prove to anyone. That night she called her mother. I don't know who I am, Ma, she confessed. I've spent my whole life being good at things, and I don't know if there's a person underneath the achievements. Her mother was quiet a long moment. When I came to this country, I was 23, and for a year I was nobody. Not a nurse, not anybody's mother yet, just a frightened woman in a small apartment learning English from a television set. That year, May, that is the year I found out who I actually was. Not what I could do, who I was. It is not comfortable, but it is the only thing worth learning. Maya wept quietly, understanding for the first time that this journey had never really been about Spain or distance or blisters. It had been about finally agreeing to meet herself. The days that followed felt different, though the landscape hadn't changed. She rejoined Amara and Leon and told her everything. I think I finally understand what Elena meant, Maya said. The Camino doesn't fix anything. It just makes it impossible to keep hiding from what needs fixing. So what needs fixing? I need to stop building my worth out of what I produce. I need to actually grieve the things I've lost instead of efficiently moving past them. I need to figure out what I actually want, not what looks good on paper, but what would make me feel like I was spending my one life well. In the misty hills of Galicia, in the Camino's final stretch, Maya noticed she'd stopped counting miles, stopped checking her watch. She'd stopped treating the walk as a task to complete and started experiencing it as a life to live, one step at a time. She thought about the small nonprofit her cousin ran back home, teaching English to new immigrants, work that had always seemed like an impractical detour from a real career. Now she thought of her mother's year of being nobody and felt something stir in her chest that she recognized as purpose. On her 34th day, Maya crested the final hill and saw the spires of the cathedral in Santiago de Compostela. She'd expected triumph. Instead, she felt something closer to grief, the sorrow of an ending sneaking up despite weeks of counting down. She was not ready for the complexity of her old life to reassemble around her. She found Elena and Amara waiting in the Plaza del Obradoiro, and all three embraced and cried without embarrassment among a crowd of pilgrims doing exactly the same thing. Strangers a month ago, family now. "How do you feel?" Elena asked. "Different. Not fixed," Maya said. "You were right. It didn't fix anything. But I finally know what actually needs attention instead of running from all of it at once.